Hello, my name is Bruce Rain from Brankus Creations, and thank you for joining the stream. I haven't done a whole lot of promotion for this one, so I don't actually expect many people to actually tune in and watch. But whoever joins, wonderful. Thank you to whoever is actually here now, if anyone is here now. 3 concurrent viewers, so to the 3 of you, whoever you might be, thank you for joining. Please let me know if there are any problems with audio or video or anything like that. Today, I'm going to be looking at another SE30. Welcome to the SE30 show. It's becoming a bit like that, isn't it? It's just such a popular Mac, and it's just so prone to capacitor failure that I see a lot of them. It's just how it is. So let's just jump across here to this view. Anyone who is actually watching me at the moment, please jump on and say hello. Because the chat's looking a little bit lonely at the moment. But anyhow, let's begin anyway. So this is yet another Macintosh SE30 with another problem. Now this is a little bit different to some of the others. Most of the time when I get SE30s, they're displaying something a little bit funky on the screen. They're displaying little patterns, the CMAC pattern. They might be displaying vertical bars. They might be displaying this kind of weird noise pattern on the front. This is a different one. This one was working. This is what the owner told me. This one was working, and then one day just switched it on. It stopped working, completely dead. No chime, nothing. No SADMAC, no CMAC, just completely dead. Now that, of course, could mean that we're talking about power supply issues, but it could, of course, still just be the logic board. So the main thing we're going to need to do with this one is open it up and have a bit of a look-see, see what's inside, see how bad it is inside. It's already been sort of partially opened. James Stewart, hello. Oh, James from Melbourne, thank you for joining. Getting a plastic Plus and Classic up and working soon, hopefully. That's great to hear. Got to try and keep as many of them going as we can. So here we are with this SE30. Now, the owner of this one has already undone sort of, the screws from the back, and they've obviously had a little sticky beak inside. And one thing I can say is that something has been done which you really shouldn't do with an SE30 or an SE, and that is don't ever try and open it up without first taking the little programmer's interrupt reset buttons off the side. So I'm going to lift that, because what happens is as you slide it out, the little pins sticking out, they get stuck. I can actually feel it. They're jammed in there now. They get stuck. Let's see if we can get this out without destroying the switch. See, it looks like whoever pulled this apart has now had trouble getting it back on again. So they've kind of left it in this half on, half off state. And I dare say it's because of these switches. So I'm going to lay it on its side and see if I can prise these switches out. But here is the reason why we don't do that. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so if we just do a little bit of a zoom in on this. This way. We can see what's happened. Those legs have bent. Now I'm not going to attempt to bend that back without applying a little bit of heat to it first to try and get that plastic a little bit more malleable. If I just bend them back now, they're likely to snap in half. So anyhow, let that be a lesson. Anyone who's pulling apart their SE30 or their SE, and you've got one of these on the side, whip that off first. So I'm going to put that to one side. I've got a little Ziploc bag for putting things in for this particular computer, as I do with all of my customers. Now this case should come off a lot easier now. So let's zoom back out again. There we go. Oh, look, you can actually see. I'm not talking to you, Siri. You can actually see the infrared button on the remote control. Isn't that nifty? Because most CCDs, charge coupling device cameras, will actually pick that up. Okay, so this now is going to come apart a lot easier. Okay, so just lift off. Let's put him on his face. Very gently, of course, and lift that off. Now I can see one thing with this particular computer. It has one of these security things in it. which I'm going to lift out. I'll let him put it back in again if he wants. So these are these little hooky things that you could chain your computer down or cable it down onto a desk so that it couldn't be stolen. You basically insert those into the little hole in the back and they lock in place, and then the only way you can remove the computer is by damaging the case. So, and this one actually has a little brand on it, KPMG. So, or not, I mean, that's not the brand of the person who makes that lock. That is the company who owned the computer originally. A company called KPMG once owned that computer. I don't think they want it anymore. Right, so there's our SE30. Let's have a quick little inspection. Okay, it looks like someone has taken this board out before, because I can see a floppy drive cable has been removed. I'm just going to have a quick little inspection of the analog board, see if anything, it looks horrendous. I mean, generally with these ones here, if you're going to have power issues, it will be on the power supply, which is actually a separate unit here. You can see that's it there. It's screwed onto the analog board. So this is all the stuff that deals with the CRT, and then this is the power supply there that takes the AC voltage and spits out a bunch of DC voltage for us to use. Okay, so that is that. Now, this is also, we've got a card in here. This is a Dayna, D-A-Y-N-A Ethernet card. I don't know exactly which one. Let's whip it out and have a look. Whip, whip, whip. Oh, this is not where it's supposed to be. Inside here, oh, geez, that board's not properly in here. All right, well, that one might be easier to get out than we thought. So that's not stuck in properly. So let's whip that out. So okay, well, we've got no issues there with. Do you see what I see? I'll have a look at this in a second. This would be interesting. Interesting. So, yeah, this board here is actually leaving... There's a little metal bracket here, and it's been slipped in between that metal bracket. It's not meant to be. It's meant to sit on the outside of it, because you wouldn't be able to lift it up terribly easily. Yeah, because the bottom bit gets jammed under it. So anyhow, we're going to pull it out the bottom instead. Hopefully not wreck it in the process. Yeah. Oz Retrocop, hello. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. I do appreciate it. So, yeah, it's nice surprise. Yeah, another SE30 surprise. They are becoming very common. So I haven't discharged this, but it's been left off overnight. So I'm feeling fairly safe about So I'm feeling fairly safe about playing around inside of it. Here is the Dayna Communications Dynaport E30 network card. Let's just zoom in on that so we can have a bit of a look for our vintage aficionados who want to check out this board. As you can see, it's got a fair bit of space on it. They haven't been, I mean, there's a lot of card, not a lot of stuff on it. So, anyhow, there's our SE30. Oh, Jay, welcome. There's our network card, and there's obviously the plug, and then this cable runs across to this little kind of breakout board thing, I guess you'd call it, that has a little light on it to show you when you've got a connection, and a 10 base T connector just there. So I would say for anyone who has an SE30, great to have a network card. So, okay, so there is our card that's coming out for the moment. We don't need that for now. I can tell just by looking at this that we have got an old spinner hard drive in here, and it looks old. When I say old, it looks old. I can't say for certain. I'll need to pull it out, but it's certainly not. I don't think it's the original that came with it. It's definitely a Quantum, but I don't know the capacity unless it has a sticker stick on it on the side here. And it doesn't, apart from a barcode. So who knows? We can find that sort of stuff out later. But let's just zoom out here a little bit now. And so there's this part. We now need to go and look at the other part. Now, once again, just to recap for anyone who's missed the beginning, this was sent to me by a customer. I just need to make some space for this to go. This was sent to me by a customer, and I have knocked the microphone over. and they had said that it was all working, and then one day they switched it on and it just stopped working. Completely dead, no bong, nothing. Absolutely and totally dead. So that's not usually what I expect from these things. I normally expect them to do weird things. But there is something even more perplexing, having taken this board out, and this is something we're going to have to deal with now. Now, for anyone playing along at home and knows a little bit about recappage, I'm going to put this on the other side of the microphone. There we go. Oh, I have to hold it. Sorry. I have to hold it. So, if we have a look at that board, it's a little bit difficult to tell from that view. Probably not good enough. But I am going to zoom in on the with the microscope, and I'll show you something which I find rather interesting. So, let's just plonk him down here. Oh, I should mention this is one of the earlier revisions of the board. Some of the things, one of the ways you can tell that is, first of all, it's a socketed chip. It's a 68030 CPU, socketed. Goes into a socket there rather than being soldered straight on the board. The other is we've got this little blue wire snaking its way across the board here. Little bodge wire where, you know, for whatever reason, there have been some revisions to the board, so they've ended up having to add this wire in. So it's got, these look like ones, so that would be probably 8 megabytes of RAM installed. And there's your ROM sim there. So that's all good. Right, now let's get on to the interesting stuff. Well, interesting for me. My microscope's getting a bit wobbly. I think something needs to be tightened up. Let's go to the microscope. Right, QC pass sticker on the Apple part. Unacceptable. Yeah, I know. I mean, who does that? I have never seen that, actually. I've seen people take it off. Alright, so let's just start up here. This is usually where we get the trouble on these Macs, because there are a little cluster of 5 surface mount electrolytic capacitors. So just to recap for anyone who's not familiar with the problem, surface mount electrolytic capacitors of this vintage leak when they get to this age. And you end up with things like this happening here, which I'm just focusing. You can see how we've got this kind of blackening of this trace. This trace is still okay, but it is starting to blacken, and you can see it happening there as well. Okay, so here's the really interesting thing about this particular SE30, and see if someone can spot what is interesting. Assuming there's someone actually watching this. Let's see if the people are still watching. Oh, look at that. I've got 9 concurrent viewers or something like that. 10, it says. So to all of you who have joined, thank you very much. I appreciate you jumping on board. Once again, if anyone has missed the beginning, we're looking at yet another Macintosh SE30, because that's sort of, they're an incredibly popular Macintosh, and they're also very prone to leakage. So I get to see a lot of them. So no, it's not actually the orientation. The thing that is interesting, the thing that sort of catches my attention about this specifically, are looking at the way these are soldered on the board, and the fact that these are great big blobs. One there, and one there. And same with this one. And same with this one. And this one. The basically, I'll stop you from having to guess at this stage. It's been recapped already. Not by me. I do nice, neat, tidy joints. There's nothing wrong with these, really. They work. There's probably just a bit more solder on there than I would put on. But this board has been recapped. So that in itself, well, it's kind of, it takes a lot of the fun out of it, doesn't it? So I'm just going to have a little inspection and see if I can see anything. But, you know, apart from a little bit of trace rot there, but certainly nothing that I can see. It needs it clean. You can see a little bit of dust and corrosion on there. I'm going to drop this in the ultrasonic to clean it up. But I'm not even sure I see a need to recap this. These caps are relatively recent. So it sort of seems like a... oh, we've got a nice little solder blob on there. There we go. Off she comes. Yep, someone had been here before. Yeah, so this is a very interesting one. Got a little solder blob there. Just getting rid of the solder blobs. I mean, sure, I could neaten this up, but then the question has to be, you know, I mean, if these aren't the problem, then what is? That is a fuse, but I don't think the fuse on this actually stops the thing from starting up. I think the fuse is designed to protect other things. We can always check them, can't we? Because we've got a multimeter that goes beepity beep. But to be honest, I've only ever seen like one fuse on these go before, and they generally go on the SCSI port if someone's done something a bit funky with SCSI. Yep, they're all fine. And then we've got a couple of caps down here. We've got this one living there. But, you know, really, this board has been recapped and looked after before any problems occurred. So, let's... okay, so, right, what do? There are a couple of ways that I can actually deal with this. And I'm just thinking about what is the quickest and easiest way. That's not the button I wanted. This is the button I wanted. Okay, we know this computer doesn't start. I have another Macintosh SE 30. I can put this into that case and see if it works. Then if it works, we can fairly safely say that it's the power supply of the analog board. So most probably the power supply. But I am very curious to actually see what happens when I do switch this one on. So what I think I'm going to do is that, which means I'm going to have to duck up into the house to grab my SE30, which will take me a couple of minutes. So I do apologise for that. It won't take me long. I know exactly where it is. Just go up there and grab it. But I didn't actually foresee this particular path of diagnostic. But it is the most sensible and the quickest thing to do. I mean, if you're in this sort of situation, you know, if you do have another computer, you can just swap it over. It gives you that ability to say, all right, I can absolutely and totally rule out an issue with this logic board. So this one, that's in need of a cleaning, but that's about it. So I'm about to duck up to the house, grab my other SE30. So please talk amongst yourselves until I get back. It won't be long. And then we can move to the next stage. This could be a power supply recap. Okay, and we're back. Good. Can't the PSU be tested with a multimeter? Sure. Don't go around spreading your logic all over the place, Jay. I know your type. With your logic and your sensible ways of doing things. Okay, so this is my Macintosh SE30. I don't even ever bother to put the screws into this. It gets opened up so often. If you are right-handed, the way I open these is I plonk this there like that. Let's change into a side view, shall we? Ooh, with a little less zoom. Hello, microphone. Sorry, I'm covering the audio there. Hope you can still hear me. Hello, David. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. Get this out of the way. Whoopsie. Okay. Right. So, for right-handed folks, this is how I recommend opening up the case once you take the once you take the screws out, I just put my right hand, I spin it around with the screen facing my right hand. I put my fingernails into here. I mean, I've got fairly chunky fingernails, you know, but I just put my fingernails into there. I put this hand onto this big flat surface, and I just pull it apart. Once you get this sort of initial gap, then the rest comes pretty easy. So now, I totally get that some of these, you know, in particular the classics, can be a lot harder to open. But certainly for the SE30 or the SE, or, you know, they open fairly easily. So, all right, mine's got a network card in it as well, so those are going to have to come out before I can lift the board out. Out you come, Mr. Network Card. Interestingly enough, forgotten how to talk. Hello, Dana. Thank you for joining the stream. Oh, there's a stream tonight. Yes, see, I did say at the beginning when I started the stream that I didn't do a whole lot of promotion of this one. I just snuck in with this. This was something I needed to do today anyway, so I just thought, well, I may as well stream it. So this is the network card that I use on this particular computer. This was actually designed for a Macintosh SE. Sorry, microphone obscured. There we go. It was designed for a Macintosh SE. And you can actually see that there is sort of this PDS slot at an angle. So the way this is designed to work is when you put it in a 2SI, which is that sort of, you know, sort of, what do you call it? Sort of double height pizza box. You know, it's a bit bigger than an LC, but not as big as like a 2CI. So it's like a slightly thicker pizza box. The way they are designed is that you can't really have a tall board going up because they're just not high enough. So this network card allows you to plug this into the PDS slot, and then if you want to, plug another PDS card that way on there, which is quite nifty. And then it's also got a little spot for a floating point unit math coprocessor, which of course the 2SI does not have on its board. You can actually buy a 2SI that has an additional card with a floating point unit on it. But if you don't have that one, you can put a floating point unit in there. Now, of course, if I put a floating point chip in here, this computer would get upset because he's already got one on the logic board. Floating point unit being math coprocessor. So anyhow, this is the network card. Then it obviously goes to that breakout box. I used to, as I say, used to have this in a 2SI, but I have another network card that I've got running in the 2SI. And the network card I had in my SE30 stopped working. So I then I just pinched this one from the 2SI. So there we go. That's that. There's a little bit of history about that network card that wasn't, I mean, but one of the things that I completely and totally missed this important piece of information, the 2SI and the SE30 have the same sort of PDS, processor direct slot. So you can theoretically interchange cards with the two computers. Would it use two FPUs if it saw them? No. I've been told different things. One is that it just ignores the second one, and another is that the computer actually crashes and won't run with it in. So, okay, so it's one of those two things. All right, so let's have a look here. We're going to whip out, I'm going to just disconnect the SCSI cable. When did I last switch this on? Do I need to discharge it? Last night. No, I don't need to. Okay, let's pop him down on his face again. There we go. And unplug this. I mean, at least with this one, you know, I mean, the SE30s, I just do so many of them these days, but at least this one's a little bit different. Teeny bit different. Up you go. Out you go. Come on. Okay, then I can squeeze my hand in here and undo this plug, and then the sound cable, and there's my logic board. Yay. Now, what do we see about this one, which is pretty groovy? A couple of groovy things about this one. First of all, it's been recapped with tantalum capacitors rather than electrolytic, which is what I tend to do. The second is you can actually find a whole bunch of solder mask around this. Where are we? I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. You can see a bunch of solder mask around this particular capacitor here, and that's because this was the very first computer I recapped, and when I did it the first time around, I did a really, really bad job of it. So I then came back and did it again, but that was just repairing some of the damage that I did before. And that's fine, you know, you get better at it. I've said it before, my first recapping job was terrible. This is where one of the RAM slots has snapped a bit of plastic, which is very easy to happen on this computer. And so I've just got a little bit of hot glue holding that in place. Obviously, if you ever need to get that RAM out again, hot glue just snaps off again. So that's a nice little trick. If you break any of those tabs, just use hot glue. I have replaced the standard half AA backup battery, PRAM battery, with a CR2032 holder. Doesn't fit in there too well, but it does the job. I used to do that to pretty much every computer I had, but I've tended to stop doing that now. I don't know. Can't be bothered. There is the floating point unit we were referring to before, M68882. That's the little processor there, and then you can see the 16 after it. That's showing that runs at 16 megahertz, I think. And then this is the later revision of the board where the CPU is actually soldered onto the board. So anyhow, here's a recap board, and of course this is what I love about it. Look at that. 16, 16, 16, 16, and I think these are 2s. 2, 2, 2, 2. So what is that? That's 8, and 64 is 72. Nothing wrong with my maths. And so this one here is well loaded up with RAM and runs beautifully. So I love this one. I have system, I think 7.5 running on this, but I regret doing that upgrade. I really do. I need to go back to 7.1. I mean, it's plenty for this. I mean, you just got to think about what you wanted to do with it. I think I wanted to maybe load a browser on it or something, web browser or something. That's fine for a bit of novelty, but then that's it. And a really interesting thing about this is I'm actually running this still with a spinner hard drive. Given that most of my computers have had SCSI to SDs put in them, I'm actually running it with an old spinner. I might do a video one day of upgrading that. So right, that is, and again, this is one of the reasons why we love the SE30s. 8 slots, you can stick 16 in each one. The 16s aren't that expensive, really, if you're a collector, you know, compared to what you would have paid for them in a day. In the day, you would have probably paid 5,000+, probably somewhere between 5 and 8,000, I don't know, something like that, to buy 8 16 megabyte sims. But yeah, you can load this all the way up to 128 megabytes. So, you know, good fun. Good fun. Okay, so let's... and of course, this was superseded by the Classic 2, which had a ceiling of 10 megabytes of RAM on it. So you get a computer that has that you can put 128 megabytes of RAM in it, and you replace it with a computer that you can put in 10. Hello, Apple. Right, so the whole purpose of this was to now put this board, let's get this stupid shield out of the way. We're going to zoom out again. All right, Tom Barber, hello, thanks for joining. How are we going here? As I said, I didn't do much. Oh, 11 viewers, there we go. As I said, I didn't do much in the way of promoting this. I didn't stick it on any of the forums because I just thought to myself, it's another SE30. I don't want to be known as the SE30 guy. I mean, you know. Okay, so, all right, let's put this in. I'll get this connected up with a little bit of, put the sound in, plug that in, oops, tuck that in there, tested, date 1998, 1998, okay, so hang on, this has got ID, RM, initials RM, date 20th of the 4th, 98. Now that's interesting because obviously this is not a computer made in 1998. So at some stage, this had some form of inspection in 1998. I don't know if that was someone sticking a sticker on after the recapping. I don't know. That recapping looks more recent than 1998. And it looks like a home job as well. So I would hate to think that was done by a professional. If it was you, I apologize. You know, whoever, if someone you're watching this and you go, oh, I recapped that computer, that's my work. Sorry. I'm not meaning to offend anyone. Right, so I haven't bothered to connect up a floppy drive, hard drive, nothing. Just basically the power cable, because that will be enough to tell us whether this thing bongs. And, okay, logic board is absolutely perfectly fine. Let's wait till we get a bit of screen there. Sorry, we've got the flickering. I haven't got that. So as you can see, I've got mine set up with the geometry virtually filling this space. You're not really supposed to, but I like it that way. So, all right. So what do we know? what do we know? We know the logic board works. I'm expecting at any second to see a little flashing question mark, which is what you would expect with a computer that has no hard drive plugged in. Yep, there we go. Not the logic board. Problem exists elsewhere. So, right, now I do have an issue. It's not a big issue, but I do have an issue. I didn't bring my discharging rod down here. It's up. Oh, did I? Am I going to have to go back up there again? Oh, no, here it is. Joy. Joy. Discharging a CRT is very dangerous. Please watch my video if you are planning to do it. I am going to discharge this now. I don't really need to, but I'm going to do it just to be safe. And I am going to... I'm skipping all the precautions. I'm just going to provide the disclaimer. It's very dangerous. Don't do it. If you decide you want to do it, please watch my video first to make sure you have all the precautions. I do this in a very cavalier way, and that's mainly because I have done it so many times. But what I would suggest is that you you be very, very careful with this sort of thing, because although from the discussions I've had with some people who have managed to zap themselves with the voltage from the CRT of one of these, it's not fatal. We do not want to test that theory, because if it is, it's a really bad way to figure that out. All right, so Retro Redrum, thank you for joining. Good to see you here. Nice to see the regulars turn up. Okay, so board comes out. So just a little recap again for those people who have... It feels so weird saying recap when you do recap videos. You know, because you say, oh, I'm just going to recap on this recap. So anyhow, just a quick recap of this video. And that is... that this is a logic board for a Macintosh SE30. The person provided their SE30 to me and they said it doesn't work. It used to work and then it just stopped working. So my first thought is, well, okay, well, we know what the problem with these SE30s is. Singular problem is. The problem is the capacitors. Capacitors need to be replaced. So I immediately whip out the board to have a quick inspection, and bum, it's already been recapped. And not that bad. I mean, okay, it's not, you know, it's not the most magnificent job in the world, but I've seen a lot worse. And as you can see, it works. That logic board is fine. So the fact that we are not getting getting it to work, we know it's somewhere else. It's the power supply or the analog board. I'm putting my money on the power supply. Not much money, but you know. Okay, so there's my network card. Incidentally, if anyone does have one of these old computers like an LC3, SI2VX, you know, a lot of the computers, all of those 680, 68020, I think it was just 68030 computers that didn't have a floating point unit, a math coprocessor built onto the board. They're not expensive and they're readily available. This is one here. It comes in a PLCC chip carrier. Just going to zoom in and we can have a look-see at this. Telephoto, nice little white background. White balances out. There's one there. You can see 68882. That's actually a 40 megahertz one. Shouldn't have any problems going into the slower computers. And they're just little PLCC, and they just slot straight in to these little sockets. The sockets generally have a little camera. Sockets generally have this little, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little triangle. That triangle indicates pin 1. And all PLCCs, their pin 1 is indicated by a little dot. I hope you can see that there. Little dot just there where the tip of my finger is. So you just line up the dot with the triangle, and you pop those in. You give them a push and they stay in there. I'm not giving it a push because then I have to get it out again. And if you ever do need to get one out again, don't try and jam it from the sides. You'll wreck the chip. What you want to try and do is get something thin and put it into these little side slots here and here. Push it in and bend out and pry it out. Is it? So yeah, so you put, you get a little something thin, like a really small jeweler's screwdriver, something like, let me see if I can find something that might suit. Something like, oh, have a look at my arm there. Something like this, a really fine little screwdriver. You can slot it into, wrong end, you can slot it into here, into there, and then you pry the chip out like that. Do it from that side and from this side. There are tools, sorry, that side there where the little slots are. There are tools for removal of these chips. I do have one floating around here somewhere. I'm standing somewhere. I was using it just the other day. But anyhow, that's just obviously letting people know that in the olden days, putting a floating point unit into these computers was quite costly. These days, there's absolutely no reason not to put one in because they're so cheap and so readily available. Okay. Right, so let's just pop that out of the way. Right. Where was I? I was putting this back into the computer. I do get sidetracked, don't I? One of my streams are so darn long. I don't actually expect this one to be that long, but I say that all the time. So anything is possible, but, I know I'm starting late for the US, folks. People are probably thinking very much about heading off to bed on Monday night. It's Tuesday about 1:37 here at the moment. Oh, I should have connected the cable up first. What a dill. Now I've got to pull it back out again. Dagnabbit. Come on. There we go. So, let's let that be a lesson. Put the cable on first. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, gee. Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright. Okay. On she goes. Excuse me. It is actually about lunchtime here, and I haven't had lunch yet, so I'm getting a little bit on the hungry side. I haven't figured out what I'm going to eat yet, but... right. So, there's the network card in place, and we just need to connect up our SCSI cable. This is one of the real annoyances, I guess, with the old compact Macs, is all of this hassle you have to go to plug things in and unplug them. I'm behind the microphone again, sorry. Nearly done. At least when you do it a lot, you do get fairly quick at it. Right. So, there we go. There's our Macintosh SE 30. Let's put the case back on the back. And we'll get it out of the way. Like that. It's not on, is it? There we go. Okay, so that's my one. I'm careful with it, but not as careful as I am with other customers' stuff. Okay. Right. Power supply. Probably. We think. Why are they so heavy? Right. Now, will I bother putting the whole board in there? Probably not. What I might actually do is just whip out the power cable. There you go. Hang it out the back. Like this. That's the power cable there, and I'm hanging that out the back. And then I can get the board. And got a little bit of green on the plugs there, but I don't normally expect that to stop these from working. So I'm just plugging this board in to the connector outside of the board, like that. Spin them around a little bit so we can see. Hitting the microphone again. I do have desk space issues here, don't I? It'd be nice if I had a much bigger workspace down here. So the board's hanging off the back, it's plugged in. I'm not worrying about the network card, obviously. And we're just going to see what happens when I switch this on. So, into the plug. Here we go. And ready? Oh, hang on. You already tested the bad board in your enclosure. How did I miss that I've been watching the whole time? You already tested the bad board in your enclosure. Yeah, that was what I just put back together again. I did a switcheroo. You didn't notice they look the same. See this one? This one here? Yeah, this one. And then, see, this one? So, 2 SE30s, but I just snuck one in over and did a switcheroo. Okay, I do need a bar fridge in this shed. There's a freezer over in that shed. I've got a few sheds. I don't have a garage here, so I make up for that with 3 sheds. So, they're all small sheds, but yeah. And of course, this one started off as my kind of workshop, you know, for mending things, all my tools. It still is, really. I mean, it's still got, as you can see, all these tools here up here. I don't exactly use those for recapping. And for storage. I've got a whole bunch of storage over here. Always got space issues. And for some reason, I just keep ending up with more Macs. Right, okay. This is, just to recap, this is the customer's computer and the customer's board. So far, I haven't done this as a test. I haven't switched it on with the board in it. He told me it didn't work. I took him on his word. I took the logic board out, tested it in my enclosure, and it worked. It worked beautifully. So I'm able to say from that, safely, that this logic board is okay. So now we know the problem is this somewhere in here. So I'm now going to, I've plugged it in, I'm going to switch it on, and we'll just see what happens. Okay, well, the hard drive started up. The screen's there. No chime. Oh, I didn't connect the sound, did I? Flashing question mark. What do you reckon? So, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. One day it just stopped working, he said. One day it just stopped working, he said. No chime, nothing, he said. Another little discharge-a-rooney here, so I'm going to be playing around inside it. Yeah. Should mention, the old SE30 has a bleeder resistor, but I still discharge just to be safe, because that's the sort of person I am. Safe. Safe Bruce, they call me. Alright. What do you reckon? Alright, we better put this back together exactly as we found it, and we will test it that way, and we'll find out. We'll start from scratch, you know. Is it working at all? Are we missing bits? Whatever the case may be. Let's get the sound plugged in. Let's get the power cable plugged in. Come on. Come on. Up there. Why can't people just send me broken things? I hate intermittent problems. Right. Okay. Oops. There we go. Yeah, in there now. Okay, then when I connect up the SCSI cables, I always do it this way around. Plenty of light coming down that way so I can see what's there. And of course I am going to put the network card in as well, because, you know, if there is a problem with the network card, we want to know that that is the cause. SCSI in. Floppy. Come on. Floppy cable's always a bit tricky because when you got the hard drive in there, there's not a lot of room there. And then here's my network card. Wasn't that the name of the movie? They Call Me Safe Press. Dear. Few famous Bruces out there. Bruce Campbell's probably my favourite. That guy's a funny guy. Okay, network card in. Right, well, okay, so we've connected everything up. We've connected up the sound, the SCSI, the floppy drive. We've connected up the network card. Now we're going to spin this around, have a look-see at what happens. Oh, the hard drive's unhappy. Osvaldo Fernandez, thank you for joining from South America. Wonderful. Thank you very much for joining and thank you for popping on and saying hello. Okay. Right. Well, the hard drive's shot. I know that. Because I can hear it spinning up and spinning down and spinning up and spinning down. It's not uncommon for a computer of this age. I didn't get a chime. So that's another thing. No sound. Hang on, it chimed in the other one. Oh, I put it in the other one, it chimed. So sound issues on this one then. Perhaps a problem with the cable. I mean, I got it plugged in. I did plug it in before. Right. So let's just assume we're having power supply issues. Time to text it. Yeah. Okay. Steve, can you send me your text app? Okay. So let's check voltages, shall we? Let's just see how we're going there. I'm going to do that on the with the floppy connector. Do all SE30 models have hard drives? I seem to remember there was a dual floppy model. I would have to double check that. I don't think so. There was a dual floppy SE, so there was the SE dual floppy version, excuse me, and the SEFD HD. That had a hard drive, obviously, but the original SE had the option for dual floppy. Now this one here, does it have the? I'll look at it later. I don't want to spin it around just at the moment, but I want to just check on the voltages. So I'm going to put this little guy on DC voltage. I'm going to put one little pin on ground, and I'm going to put the other one on the 6th hole of the floppy drive connector. And I'm reading exactly 5 volts, right on the money. Okay, but we didn't get a chime. We might need to have a closer look at this. So let's switch him off, do some discharging, and whip out the power supply and just see what we can see. Because, yeah, it chimed in the other computer, so we know that the logic board is okay. It's outputting sound, but we're not getting any sound yet. So we do have problems here. Bear with me just a minute. Slight technical hitch here. At this particular juncture, I'm not even sure if I can be seen or heard, but I am going to hope that I am restoring this connection. And so just bear with me. Da-da-da-da-dum. Okay. Wow, that was an interesting one. So, right in the middle there, I blew a fuse. I didn't actually blow a fuse. The fuse was blown in the house, but I'm not going to assign blame to anyone. But basically, yeah, fuse blew, lost power, had to go up, trip the breaker, come back, switch everything back on. Thankfully, Mac Pro with an SSD in it fired up nice and quick. I was able to get running again quite quickly. But of course, that, you know, we'll see what happens. Let's just check all the cameras now, shall we? There's a microscope. Good. There's the side angle. Oh, look at that. We're doing well. So professional. Okay, well, thank you for everyone who has stayed with the stream. I don't blame you if you left. Okay, so let's try this again. So I am just going to zoom out here because I'm going to do my old discharging again. But the big difference this time when I discharge is I'm actually going to take the anode cap out. So let's just spin around so we can see that. This being the that's being me knock the microphone again. I've got to get one of those boom things for the microphone, don't I? So righty. I even lost the dislike. So just to confirm, if someone could just jump on right now and say, "Hey, yep, it's all good." So okay. I am now going to pop this in here. I'm going to bend back one of the little pins. Oops. And off she comes. There we go. So there's the anode cap off. Yeah, all good. Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you. All right. So, as I say, thank you. Thank you for persevering, folks. That was an adventure, wasn't it? So now I've got to get all of these plugs undone in order to take this out. Now, some of these big capacitors in here might still have a charge in them, but there is a little paper thingy here that's going to protect me there until I take that off. So we've got this little guy here. We've got a little cable there I need to undo. This little unpluggeroony. Come on. Come on. Oh man, this is in there. I've never had that much trouble getting one of those out. This is usually the easy one. I mean, unless it's kind of fused on there or something. Come on. It's making me look bad. Just don't want to break anything here. Might have to stand up. Hey, got him out. Just going to have a little look there, see if there's... Nope, doesn't look too bad. That's okay. Then we've got a whole bunch of little plugs under here. I'm going to take this off because I don't want to bump it and potentially break off this little piece of glass on the end there and let all the stuff out. GT, hello, welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. Just stopped in for a sec. That's okay. That's all you'll need. Oh, Steve, you're here as well. Thank you for joining. Everyone, don't forget to go on to Mac84's channel, Steve, and look at the video he just uploaded today. Or last night or whenever it was. For me, it was like 2 in the morning. It is just a little reminder that if you're going to do YouTube videos and not fact check them first, watch out. Steve's watching you. Okay, so a few plugs to get out of here. Can I get in here without breaking anything? It might be easier for me to actually do this once the board's mobile. That's going to come out. This is the main power cable that I'm undoing. Steve did some schooling. Okay, come on. So what have we got? We've got 3 of the Mac Yakkers here now. Oh, here's Matt too. Hello, Matt. How are you? This is what I need to do in order to get people. I need to have a complete disconnection in my stream partway through. Everyone's sort of turned up now. For anyone who missed it, I had a blackout and my stream stopped for a mo. but it's all up and running again now. So what I'm doing here, you can't see, and I apologize, but there's just no way I can do this safely and film it at the same time, not without someone holding a camera potentially. I'm unplugging all of the plugs connected to this analog board very, very carefully so as not to break anything. And there are a total of some plugs here. You've got the plug for this little CRT board thingy that plugs in. You got this plug here for the yoke. That's the one with the big 4 pins. Then you've got the main plug, the main connector between the logic board and the analog board. And then you've got the power cable for the hard drive. And then there is another one, and that is the one that goes from the power supply to the analog board. But because I'm going to take that whole thing out in one piece, I can stay connected. So we need to do some unscrewage. I think this is quite a nice screwdriver for this type size screw. So I need to undo, we've got 4 here, don't need to undo those 4. They're just holding the power supply on. We'll take those off in a moment. I'm curious, I haven't seen it yet. Well, I'll tell you what, you know, it'll still be there when I finish this. Go and have a look. Okay, so someone else has had a go at this because I've only got 1 screw holding this in, and there should be a little shield around that as well, and that shield is gone. So, shieldy thing, metal thingy, who's a fudge thing. Yes, that's a really good point, and we're missing a screw from here as well. That's a really important point, GT, is the fact that it is a response video to another video, so you should go and watch the original one first. And just look, just a real quick recap. I don't want to, no spoilers here, but at the end of the day, this person did a quaint kind of light-hearted look at an old G3, which is fine. I mean, he's, you know, probably, maybe, I'm not sure, I don't know his age, but probably not someone who actually used them when they came out. But anyhow, he basically was just providing a whole lot of information about them that wasn't quite accurate. You know, I mean, I can understand it being lighthearted, and when you look at things like that, it's kind of, I don't know, it's like a young person of today looking at an old dial telephone and, you know, knocking it, you know, and saying, oh, you know, how did you call like that? What a pain, you know. I mean, it's just how things were. I mean, we used to use slower computers because that's what they had. You know, you compare them today to today. So I can understand it just sort of being like a light-hearted look at, you know, old technology, but there were quite a few inaccuracies in it, and so that was the problem. Now, when it comes to removing this board, it doesn't really want to come out that easily with the power supply still on it, so I do a little bit of a bend to get it out. It works. Doesn't wreck it. Everyone's happy. Okay, so let me just put this down here for a minute. And let me just put this here for a minute. So, we know the hard drive is going. We know the logic board has already been recapped, not by me. What else do we know? We know that there's no sound coming out of this one. Where's the speaker on this? I can't remember. It's in the front. Maybe the speaker's shot. Let's just check that, shall we? I really should have checked that first. Now, if you're wanting to test a speaker, there it is, I can see the speaker. If you're wanting to test a speaker, hey, Mr. Speaker. Oh, I've got to unplug all this stuff again. Oh. Well, it's weird, all this work. Yeah, research on videos is a good idea. You know, if you're going to actually commit something to video, and more importantly, if you don't know, say I don't know. Don't just make stuff up. Right. You could say something like, I don't know if this was the fastest G3 available. Okay, logic board again. Let's put that to one side. I am running out of places to put boards. Okay, so I am planning to just do a very quick little rudimentary test to see if the speaker is working. We've got a little speaker plug here. Speakers have an impedance measurement in them in ohms. This one here, if I have a look on the back, he is 63 ohms, which is kind of weird impedance, but a lot of these early Macs had like 63 ohm speakers. Try and find one now. They're virtually impossible to buy. The best I've been able to find is a little 50 ohm speaker, which I've, been able to use. But yeah, 63 ohm, no. So I'm going to put my multimeter here on resistance, and then I'm going to just grab these pins. I'm going to put one on that pin. Oops. I'm going to put one on that pin, and I'm going to put one on that pin. And shot speaker, folks. Either that or the wire's gone. I'm just reading OL. Now, yeah, I think OL is meant to stand for over limit. I've always thought that it stood for open line, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it means that it's measuring infinite resistance between these two pins, which means that that speaker is probably shot. If I were to grab a good speaker from here, this one is a 32 ohm. Now, if I do the same thing that I just did there with this one, and grab my multimeter and measure between those 2 points, one there, whoopsie, one there. This is moving around, and it is now reading 30.5 ohms. So a little bit under the 32, but certainly all good. So that is that's one nice, quick, and easy way to test a speaker. And basically inside the speaker, the wire goes in, and it's around this tiny weeny little coil, which makes the speaker thingy move in and out, like a little electromagnet type thing. And so the wire goes through a coil, and all it takes is a break in that coil for that to then start reading infinite resistance, and the speaker doesn't work. So there we go. So what we know about this is there's a very good chance this speaker is shot. Now, I'm going to talk to the owner and ask what he wants to do about that. I don't have a spare. I've got lots of other broken ones. Here's another 63 ohm that doesn't work. I think it doesn't work. Let's just check. This does work. This is a good one. I don't even know where that came from. I might have raided it from a computer that recently I probably raided it from Mac Plus analog board, because I had one of those die recently. Okay, so that's a good speaker, so I can actually ask him if he wants me to put that in. It's a second hand, obviously. I can't charge a new price, but it is a suitable replacement speaker. So that involves a little bit of pull-apartage to get that in. But that in itself, I'm not going to stream that. That's a little bit on the dull side. But okay, so I do have a replacement speaker, so that's good. It could be as simple as the wire not connected to the speaker. I can't see from here because it's obscured. One of the wires I can definitely see is connected. The other one is impossible for me to see without taking this whole cage off. So I'm going to just talk to him and see if he wants to do that. I mean, he may not want to pay for a replacement speaker. He might be happy with it being silent. He might have it connected to an external speaker. So, aren't those welded in by the plastic case? Yep, they sure are. But nothing a little bit of JB Weld can't fix. So basically, they're stuck onto the front case. And obviously, initially there was 2 pins going through, and then what they've done is they've just melted those pins down to hold them in. Now, having said that, there are actually 4 pins. 2 of them have been melted. I might be able to melt the other 2. So, okay, let's have a little quick look-see here. I'll just catch up on the old chatteroony. I need Dana's Berserk Mode multimeter. That was incredible. Just to explain to people what Berserk Mode multimeter is. I was asking Dana, Londo's hair, in the chat. I was asking him to measure something for me once, and he grabbed his multimeter out, and what we found was that even when you touch the 2 pins together like this, what you should be seeing is it saying, whoops, it should be saying that it's like 1 or whatever like that, or no, sorry, 0 ohms. So in other words, no resistance when you touch the 2 together, because you're making perfect contact. In theory, you should be seeing about 0. One like this that measures down to incredibly fine increments is actually telling me this is 0.4 something or others. But anyhow, he was doing that. He touched the 2 pins together, and it would just go 50, 2, 100, 16. It was just bouncing all over the place, and we decided to call that multimeter Berserk Mode. So yeah, needless to say, he's since bought a new multimeter. So, and as soon as he's feeling energetic and generous of his time, he's going to try and measure that thing on the Quadra 700 again for me, please. Okay, the computer of the 2000s. Okay, even the title triggers me. Yeah, I know. There are lots of things in that video that will trigger you. Any replacement speakers? I covered that. So the 50, just to mention that, as I say, these are very hard to come by now, but I did find a 50 ohm speaker, and you can always just tack a little, if you're concerned about the difference in impedance from 50 to 63, you can just tack a little resistor on the end there to get it a little bit closer. I mean, it doesn't need to be exact. If you put a, I don't know, 10 ohm resistor in line, you can actually make it so that it's using the same amount of resistance. May not necessarily be as loud as the old speaker, but the one that I replaced, I put a 50 ohm speaker into a 63 ohm computer, and it sounded great. So, and I was able to find those are a little bit smaller, so you can't use the same holes. You have to use another way of attaching them on there. But yeah, getting hold of a 63 ohm, they might be out there, but I haven't found them. So I was going to say, I stopped, okay. Scarlet Swordfish, hello, thanks for joining. Sorry I didn't see you there before, a little bit slow on the chat. Thank you very much for jumping on board. Need to calibrate your meter then. Yeah, well, I think it's probably beyond calibration, maybe. It probably needs to be thrown in the bin, that one. But anyhow, he's got a nice new one now, nice shiny new. No calibrating in that meter. Okay, just take a soldering iron, pull speaker off, the new speaker, new soldering iron. Yeah. I realise that the word met that appears twice in your comment, David, is actually meant to be melt. But yes, that's right. I mean, I'm basically, as long as there's still some plastic there that you can kind of melt and get it to hold in place, you can do that. You can just use the existing plastic there. So, anyhow. So, we have established that this has got an issue with the speaker, so that's fine. There's number one. Let's now put this aside and move on to some other diagnostic stuffs. Cable. Australia Post. Delivery is on the way. Nice to know. Nice to know. Right, so here is our analog board and power supply. Now, obviously you can go ahead and recap the power supply. I generally do it if it's asked. If someone said to me, hey, should I recap it, I'll go in and have a look and see if I think the analog board needs recapping. But to be honest, I mean, I have an SE and an SE30. They share the same sort of analog board. Neither of them have needed recapping, so, you know, unless I see something bad or if it's not working, I tend not to worry about recapping these. What they do often have a problem with is cracked solder joints. We're going to have a quick look at this, see if we can find any. But the first thing I'm going to do is take this power supply off, because we are going to open that up and inspect that. Okay. To get these white bits of thingy off, the protectors, we've got to push these little black things out, which I hate. I hate these things. Always end up hurting myself when I'm trying to get these out. Let's try and use a tool, shall we? As I am a primate, good working with tools. There we go. See you, GT. Thanks for joining. I do appreciate it. At least this one's a little bit more interesting than my normal SE30 videos. I mean, most of the time when I just get those that, well, that's a bit presumptuous of me to say that it's interesting, isn't it? At least it's a little bit different to my other ones, because it's, you know, it's not just the standard run-of-the-mill, open it up, recap. I mean, we've got other issues here, or we don't have issues at all, but, you know, I really, you know, I can't imagine that this person was just imagining things when it came to this thing not switching on. So, well, I lost it. I'm allowed to call it interesting by authority of J. That is saying something. Alright, so here's our little protector. Sometimes with these you can actually use them to tell if there are problems. You know, as you can see, we've got these little heat marks here. Now, admittedly, that level of heat, not really of much of a concern. I wouldn't be worried about that. But sometimes you see in unusual spots of the board, spots you wouldn't normally expect to see it, great big black marks or even some melts on this plastic. And that can sometimes tell you where a problem might exist. Now, I dropped the black thing and I can even see it. Can I get it? Can I get it? No, I've lost it. Did I like kick it miles away, or was it stuck to my shoe or something? Oh, there it is. Okay, I can reach this, but I'm going to make old man noises while I get it. There we go, got it. Right. Fresh recapping job on the SE30 was... Yes, fresh recapping job on the SE30. Plot twist. It's good to have a plot twist every now and again, isn't it? Alright, so I want to get a microscope to have a look at this, but the microscope is quite thick, so thankfully this microscope has the ability to lift it up. Lift it up about the height of the board. I don't think I quite got it there. I might need to go up a little higher. It's heavy. It's very heavy. There we go. Let's try that. Okay. Let's see if I can figure out why this is so wobbly. Does it need to be tightened up? Jay might know. Jay's got one of these microscopes as well. Exactly the same one. Exactly. Nope, that's tight. It must be something up here. There's a little screw at the back, but it's so small. I'm worried about breaking it if I tighten it too much. Right. So, microscope time. Yay! We all love microscope time. Right. Now, of course, when you're working with an analog board, we're talking about like really big stuff here. So, it's not the same as when we're looking on a logic board. The focus will keep changing on this because it's a bit wobbly. Now, that might look like a crack, but it's not. The places that I'm generally looking for cracks are on this is the other side of the flyback transformer. So, fix my scope quality if I fix your wobble. Jay has an issue with the quality of the image coming out of his microscope. I don't think it's that bad, but he certainly has an issue with it. Okay, so this is the back of the flyback transformer. As it's quite a heavy component, you can sometimes get cracking on these pins here. Now, this is then the second likeliest place to get cracking. This is the yoke connector because they're great big plugs. So far this one's looking sensational. I did one last night that was way cracked. Way cracked. I should actually get some photos on standby with cracks. Okay. There's another... I mean, where you're looking at connectors... Because those plugs come in and out, you bend them and then you're likely to end up with cracks. But I can't see a single crack on any of these joints whatsoever. So I'm not really going to bother to do anything to this at all. So there's that. So there's the next one that we have ruled out. The cracks in the analog board, that looks fine to me. Now we've got to have a look at the power supply. In order to take that out, we undo 4 screws from here. I've just taken the... I was sitting on my wallet before and it was really hurting me, so I just took that out of my pocket before. Right, let's go. I am so hungry. The stream is going to end up getting... Paul Daniels is on live right now. Right now. He's trying to steal all my viewers. That's what he's doing. Okay, so as you can see, once you take the power supply off the analog board, it becomes quite a small, manageable little thing. Let's put him to one side. Just looking out to see if there's anything of interest there, but no, not really. Now, there are 2 different types of this power supply. I have recapped both types. I have the capacitors for both types. I know that there's one I prefer over another, but it'll be interesting to see what this one is. So I don't know which one this is. I'm not good enough to actually just immediately identify them. I haven't done enough of them, but Paul is on leaves. Yeah, so Paul Daniels, just for those who don't know, anyone out there who might know of someone called Lewis Rossman, who's a New Yorker that does a lot of Mac repairs and MacBook, laptops and stuff like that, primarily. And Paul Daniels is kind of like the Australian version of Lewis Rossman. He basically repairs MacBooks. I'm not sure which part of Australia he's in, but he's definitely here. And so a lot of people do refer to him as the Australian Lewis Rossman. And I do jump on and have a look at his streams every now and again and learn a little bit about repairing computers. He often streams quite late at night. But today, he's bucking the trend. I mean, late at night our time, and I realise it's late at night in the US right now. All right, I assume this has to come off as well. Got a little grounding wire here. Modern Mac's boring. Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. It's I'll tell you what I do like about doing that sort of repair work. I do love the fact that you can get these computers that are not working, that you can take into Apple, and Apple take one look at them and they go either too old or that's going to cost $900 to replace the logic board or whatever the case may be. And then you can basically open them up and you can repair them by replacing a single component. Now, don't think that that is a really easy thing to do. You need to have the right equipment. On a computer like that, you wouldn't even attempt doing those repairs without having a microscope. The components are just too small. So it's not like you can just sort of suddenly wake up and say, hey, I'm going to start doing these now, just with my, $20 soldering iron or whatever. Okay, that came off eventually. Right. Received my micro soldering pen today. Ooh! And it's good. It's nice. Okay, yeah. So just this is my soldering iron here, and it's got. I can go down right to really, really tiny, fine pins on this. I got, fine. Well, not pins. What do you call them? What are these things called again? Tips. Really fine tips that I can use for soldering. A micro soldering one is one that's even smaller than that. So, fancy stuff. Fancy. Jay's getting all fancy on me. All right. Oh, wow. This looks different again. No, it doesn't. It's the right one. Yeah, it's a normal one. It's the one I'm used to. I think I've even got a guide for this one. So we need to take the board out. I've got a couple of screws in here that I need to undo with a larger screwdriver, one that I can get a bit of torque behind. There's one screw there coming out. Out, damn screw. Ha! No one has ever referred to me as fancy. You say that, Jay, but you know how fancy you are. Okay, so there's one screw there, and then there's one screw up here in the corner. Can I get to it? Okay. Need to. This little ream of wires that's going through here. I should maybe zoom in a little bit so you get a slightly better view. Where am I? I need to be here for that, don't I? Need to be working in this region. And this region here. That region. I better zoom out. My fat head's getting in the way. And a microphone. So we've got this little ream of cables. I want to get that out. In order to do that, you need to kind of squeeze it and pull it. I might need some pliers for this. Because it's kind of... it's got this little holder thingy. It's nearly there. There we go. That comes out, then I can open that, and then I can take that off, and then I can get these wires out of the way. Like that. And then the screw is under here somewhere. Consummate. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. This is... I don't remember this being this difficult. I mean, I don't know if the one I had before... or I did before, was different to this, but I just don't remember having all these cables getting stuck on here like this. gonna just get this through. Put it there. This is just phenomenal. I don't even know how they get it in the first place. Sorry, folks. This is getting a little bit on the dull side. I'll just talk amongst yourselves. You know, how about that? Just bend the metal a bit. That's better. It'll bend back. Don't worry. There we go. Boy, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Out she comes. Now, this is one of the things that I don't like about these power supplies. If I ever get this out of here. There we go. Okay, let's get this screw out. Out you come. Come on. There we go. So this is one of the things that I really don't like about these, and that is that the wires are soldered on. So you've got to either unsolder it or you've got to carry that thing around with you, which is a real pain. Who's going? Who is it? Who said they're going? Someone? I was RetroCop. No, not. He's not. No. Retro. Okay, sorry. I'm going to have to go back. I missed a whole bunch of chat here. Michael Mullet, hello. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so... Lewis reckons the hardest part can be finding the component. Yes, I mean, generally he just sort of has donor boards, so you just have to have a supply of boards that are already busted, like these ones here. You just get old boards, and they've usually got holes poked in them, and you can just raid parts. Okay. Going to bed. Okay, Retro Redrum, he was going. Okay, good night, Retro Redrum. Have a good sleep. Probably already gone now. So there's some vicious looking pliers, very sharp teeth. Saying pliers triggers Dana. Yeah, I know, you got to look out for the old Dana has some bad memories of pliers. These ones here that I use, they're actually wire strippers as well. So you've got a nice little bit of plier action going on in the end here. But here you've got all these little holes. You can poke your wire in and strip the end of the wire off. Very nifty little thing. And it's a cutter in here as well. So handy little thing. Like those. Now, let's lift this out. So... Michael, with the speaker, I actually buy them from a company here called RS Components. Now, having said that, generally when I put links in, I don't do RS Components. I do RS Components for Australians because they have free delivery here in Australia, whereas people in the US generally prefer to use Mouser or DigiKey. So I will probably see if I can find that speaker on Mouser maybe, and then put a link for that, but I will include that. So I want to disconnect these wires. I've got to desolder them, but before I do that, I need to make sure they are labeled because I want to be able to put them back in the right place, and they are. So we've got a little L there for live, we've got a little N there for neutral, and we've got the one left over is earth, so, or ground. Earth, earth, earth. Earth, earth, earth. So, now it's time. Should I use this? Or should I use my suckery thing? Actually, I'll switch it on. But I'm going to use this. So I'm going to just suck the solder out of these. Just melt that solder and then... Oh, God, look at this solder from the last one. Okay. Do that, and then suck that out. Is that enough? Is that enough? But of course, someone like Dana, who did have a slight mishap with some pliers with his Mac, is very lucky to have people like Jay around, who was able to, I think, not only supply him with a replacement, he then also repaired the original. So, alright, that wire comes out. I'm not doing this with a microscope. I'm just doing this with my normal daytime glasses, and I can't see anything at this distance. So I could be absolutely wrecking this for all I know. God, that wire does not want to come out. I'm guessing it's got some sort of little barb on the end of it to stop it from falling out. Now, admittedly, using pliers on a board like this, not as bad as using it on a little tiny board, because these are quite large components, and if I damage one of these pads, I can usually repair them. But as I say, this is the step that I'm doing at the moment. This isn't a necessity. You could theoretically go in and work on this while this was hanging off, but you know, it's just such a cumbersome thing to have hanging off while you're working on it. So I always desolder that. Just means I've got this. It's easier to work with. Now, that's interesting. I've not seen this before, but there's some sort of coating. It's like a conformal coating being put over on this to, I guess, stop it from shorting on the bottom of the power supply. But is there plastic under there? No plastic under here. So it's that's a really curious one. I've never seen that on one of these power supplies before. I've only seen a few, so that's not saying that much. But yeah, I've not seen that before. Okay, so this is the power supply. The areas that are usually a problem are here. These little bunch of caps living around here. You've got one there, and there, two there, and one there, and they're going to be the ones that we replace. And I'll be interested to see if we've got any leakage under them as well. So once again, I'm going to do my normal trick, and that is with these capacitors. I should get my cheat sheet first, shouldn't I? Let's do that now. I have here, this is where I put everything I haven't got a home for. So, you know, bits from computers and all that. But I'm pretty sure I have a cheat sheet for an SE30 power supply. Now, of course, I would have prepared for this if I knew that I was going to be doing an SE30 power supply today. What's that one? LC power supply. SI power supply. Well, at least we're looking at power supplies now, mostly. Analog board. Come on. Shield for a classic. Ooh, no. Worst comes to the worst, I can always bring it up on the website, but then I won't be able to see the chat as easily. But if I get to the end of this, and I can't... Another classic shield. If I get to the end of this, and I don't find my little cheat sheet, oh, I'll be livid. Okay. Nope. It's a colour classic power supply. That's looking... Oh. It's a power supply, but it's not this power supply. I don't even know what that is. Oh, you know, I've actually got this... I've got this kind of weird recollection that I may not even have an SE30 power supply guide on my website. We might have to wing it. I'll have to play it by ear. Fun. Right, so, as usual when I'm removing caps, what I like to do is I like to generally desolder them all at one time. So I am going to just do little circles around the pins that I need to remove. I haven't got my glasses. So I'm going to use my big magnifier here instead. He is, by the looks of it. Oh, that's a weird one. Where is that? There. Okay. There. There. That's it. And there and there. And Probably a little quiet at the moment. That's because I'm looking through a microscope, a magnifying glass, which is blocking my words. I'm just going around and highlighting the other side of the pins of these capacitors. Is that one there? There and there. So that when I'm looking at this, I know which ones to pull apart. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there's another one here. 6. And 7. Everyone does that, don't they? Start counting and then laugh like the count. Right. So, Jeff Barnard, hello. Welcome to the stream. Can this PSU guide be found on Recapper Mac? I have this sneaking suspicion it can't. I'm going to just click on it and see. I've got it on my computer. I've actually done it, but I'm not sure if I... No, I haven't. I haven't put it up on the website yet. What a fool! Right. Now, we can lower this microscope a little bit now. Doesn't need to be that high. Maybe that sort of height should do it. And there. There. Alright. And then we can jump across to the microscope on that button. So let's jump across to here where we have all my little marks. You can see all my little marks there for getting that out. And then and switch on my little cheaty machine. I mentioned the other day that with my solder sucker, this little guy here that I use for sucking solder out, that it makes a terrible noise when you first switch it on. And I figured out what it is. It's a fan, a little cooling fan or something like that. And it's a real pain. So it starts off noisy and then gets quieter. So I'm probably going to need to replace that with a better quality fan. So for anyone who is thinking of buying one of these desoldering stations, just be aware that they're not made very well. So, you know. Great. But I have to say, the other day, I had to remove 2 RAM slots from a Quadra 900 board. Oh, I was very glad to have it. I'd rather a badly made one than none at all, that's for sure. Okay, I've just gone and hidden the chat. Why is no one talking? Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. So yes, I am definitely going to have to resolve the issue. I am going to sort out and get a recapping guide for this soon. Okay, now I can't really do this part with the microscope. It's a little bit difficult using this. So these a lot of these pins are actually have been bent to hold the capacitor on. Which I'm now trying to bend them up as I desolder, and I'm totally out of camera. Constant problems. Camera. Lights, camera. I really wish I had my magnifying glasses here at the moment. I'm going to bend some of these pins. They're really annoying me. I'll bend them with a soldering iron so that I can melt the solder as I'm bending them. But yeah, so that's okay. These ones here, that one's come out. That's okay. Let's do this one here. Bendy, bendy, bendy. Bend. Out. And yeah, he's bent. Bend. And it just will make life easier in the long run. I probably should just be using wick for this, shouldn't I? I know someone's probably going to be watching this and go, why bother with all that? Just use wick. And I think I'm starting to agree with that little voice. Let's grab some wick, shall we? Grab some John Wick. Yeah, those birds, unfortunately, they're Indian minor birds. They're an introduced species, and they're a pest, and they're noisy. Not the normal interesting birds that I have around here. Yucky birds today. Doing a bit of wicking. Quick. I want to just keep them in place for the moment, because as I don't have a guide, if I don't pay too much attention, I might end up putting the wrong size back on. So, wicking. So, once again, if anyone is watching this stream for the first time, if you're wondering what wick is, it's braided copper that has been coated in flux, and that basically helps this solder flow and then flow into the copper. So it draws the solder away from the pad on the board and draws it into the copper there. You can see it gets shiny as I go. Sucking it away. Interesting thing with this board is some of these capacitors are really heavily obscured. You know, they're sitting underneath heat sinks and stuff like that. And you look at them and you think, oh, how am I ever going to get that one out? Well, you do. They do come out once you get the ones in front out of the way. You can then get to the ones at the back. So hopefully what I'm saying there is true. I mean, if I then get to a point that I can't get them out, that will make me look quite the fool. Okay, come on. This is the boring part. I do apologise. It is the dulls, the repetitious part is getting these old caps off. It's very fiddly. It's very wobbly because this board is ouch. I just burned myself on the end of the solder wick there. The board is wobbling around because it's got all these capacitors underneath it. So I appreciate that it's you're gonna be making you feel seasick looking at this at the moment, and for that I apologise. But it's just the nature of the beast. So just looking around here. Oh, there's a couple there I forgot. Let's just double check the chat here. It feels wasteful to just go and use braid. I wish there was a way to recycle it. Yeah, I agree. It would be nice. It'd be nice if you could sort of, I don't know, draw the solder out of it or the copper out of it or whatever. It is wasteful to have a product like that. It's sort of like a bit like using toilet paper, isn't it? Kind of one use and then throw it away. Not saying I want to recycle toilet paper. I think. Let me just check. Oh no, all good. All right, so I think that's all of them. Let me just do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we're good. So let's jump back to this camera here because we don't need the microscope for this stuff, and we're going to just be gradually pulling these off. I need that camera pointing down a little bit more, don't I? I might just do that now. I had it further up because of when I had the actual SE30 box there. I think it'll be better off pointing the camera down some. Can't do that with the remote control, unfortunately. But that's way better. Way better. Yep. So I'm just turning on my ultrasonic cleaner. Just realised it didn't come back on after the power supply, after the blackout. Not blackout. What would you call that thing? Fuse. Right. Well, plentiful is limited resources. True. was a silly parallel to use toilet paper, wasn't it? Very silly parallel. Okay, so right, come on, out you come. This guy's hanging on for dear life. There we go. Now let's see what we have. We have for this one a, oh my eyes, 47 microfarad, 63 volt. How's that for a weird one? 60. I've even got a container for 63 volts. So there you go. It is the container that's right on the bottom, of course. I need a better system for these. I really do. 63. DD Electrical. Hello, welcome to the stream. We've just been killing time till you got here. So we're working on a Macintosh SE 30 at the moment. And it's a kind of an odd one because the owner of it basically said that it was working and then it just stopped. And the problem I have is that it works. Other than a speaker, a blown speaker, it just seems to work beautifully. So I know the logic board works. I've tried that in my computer. It's been recapped already by someone else. And the job's not that bad. Maybe needs a little bit of a clean, but ultimately it's a fairly good recapping. You know, it's a lot better than some that I've seen. So I am thinking that probably the next best thing to do is recap the power supply, because he was saying that it was completely dead. Now, I wouldn't have thought that would be the case with a logic board problem. A logic board's more likely to give you weird patterns on the screen and stuff like that. But for him to say that it wouldn't turn on at all makes me think we're probably talking about power supply issues. And these do end up with leaky caps on these power supplies. Now, having said that, this one here, no leakage on this one. The first one that I removed, no leakage. So what we're hoping for, we're really rooting for some leakage with this one today. So we feel like we're actually doing something useful. So I'm going to put the replacement cap in. This is not how I normally do these. I normally take all the caps out, put the new, and then you know, sort of solder all the caps in. I do them, you know, all out, all in. But with this one, I don't have a guide here, so I'm kind of doing it one at a time, just so that I don't accidentally get any mixed up. So it's not the way I like to do it, but I'm just dealing with the fact that I don't have a guide. I do have a guide, it's up in the house, but saving me from having to go up there. So let's just jump quickly across here to the microscope and just have a look at my soldering. So as usual, I solder generally one pin in, and then I push it from the underside so that I know it's nice and flush on the board, and then I solder the other pin. As you can see, this pad is actually lifting a little bit. And that's happened because I used a solder sucker on that one. And that's actually pulled the pad up off the board a little bit. Now that's obviously, you know, that's not what you want. That's not what you're aiming for. Now that I'm in this situation, it's now being held on quite firmly by the capacitor itself. All right. Mr. Starters, I've been playing with the SE30 LC, which picked up from you earlier today. Yes, that's David, who came and picked up those. And David, guess what? I don't know if you saw my message yet, but this is your floppy drive cable. I forgot to put it back in the LC, so I'm going to post that to you. My apologies for that. This is the little Ziploc bag that I put your stuff in there, and I put the caps in there. I think I put the caps in there because I hadn't done that particular brand of power supply before, so I wanted to make sure I had them all documented. But yeah, so I will send you that floppy drive cable back. I hope you're enjoying playing with the those computers there. So, assuming the recap was done properly, or were orientation and values double checked. It worked, but I'll go in and check that later. But I didn't actually go in and check the orientation. The values, yeah. I mean, the values are pretty straightforward on the SE30. I think almost all of them are 47. I think except for one or 2. I think it's like a 1 microfarad 50. I will double check that. I will, because you know, it's all about doing the right thing. So let's pull the next cap off this one, and we'll do that this way so we can actually see what we're doing. And it's this guy here. He's already been desoldered. I said he's already been desoldered. He's hanging on. Come on. Here we go. There we go. I'll get him out now. Oh, come on. Alright, so this one also has no leakage. Now, of course, I'm not testing these. I can go and test these, check the capacitance of them to see if they're a problem. I can go in and do that later. I'll keep them all in a pile and see if any of them are measuring outside of spec. But I'll be honest, I suspect that won't be the case. I think these will probably still be in spec. Oh, and yeah, let's have a look and see what it is. 220 microfarad, 25 volts. 25, 220. 25, 25, 25, 25, 20, 35, no, 25. Thankfully, that's only 3 layers down. So, 220, 25, 220, 25. Incidentally, with these caps that I'm replacing it with, I'm using good quality, in most cases Panasonic if they're available. Long life caps that... well, I'd be very surprised if these end up needing to be recapped again. The electrolytic capacitors have the stripe on the negative side. The board has a little plus sign on the plus side. So I know just to put the stripe on the other side of the plus. Okay, let's have a look here. Let's go. Yes, don't use copper braid as toilet paper. That's for sure. It's certainly not with a soldering iron involved. Yeah, this is right. I just sort of say, you know, whenever I'm doing a stream, I just go, Jay, I'm going to mess up. Can you be there, please? Okay. Very helpful individual, Jay. I like to think that I help him from time to time as well. But always very keen to share his wealth of knowledge. Oh, so hungry. Really should have had lunch first, shouldn't I? Right, we're moving along. There aren't very many caps to do here, so although this might seem like it's a very long and tedious process, it is actually going to be done quite quickly. We're getting into a bit of a rhythm here. Get some more braid. Where'd you come? Where'd you come? Interesting thing, the what do you call it, the solder suckery thingy, it makes lots of noises. It goes kind of like beep, beep. This one is desoldered. It's just being Duke the Fat Cat. Hello and welcome to the stream. Oh, I can see why this one's not coming off. Just do a little bit of telephoto here. Zoom in like that. Ah, goodness me. Technology. Glue. This capacitor's been glued in with that kind of gluey stuff. It feels a bit like hot glue, but it's not hot glue because hot glue would melt a lot of the time in these. It's not quite like a celastic rubber stuff. I'm sure it has a name. But it's awful. And I have to cut it in order to get this cap off. There we go. There we go. Cap's moving on its own now. Need to recap a few machines soon. I need to learn. Well, I don't know what you're doing here. I can't teach anything. No, I mean, always happy to try and help if I can. So tell me... Duke the Fat Cat, what sort of computers do you have to recap? And are we talking about logic boards? Are we talking about power supplies? Just curious to know. Another 220 microfarad. Well, not another. This is a 220 microfarad 16 volt. Now, of course, I could just stick another 220 25 on it, but I do have a 16, so that's what I'm going to use. 22016. So we've already used 3 different voltages. Scholastic, yeah, that's the word that Jay has a bit of a blind spot with the old word scholastic. So okay, let's just check this again, making sure 220 microfarad 16 volt, 220 microfarad 16 volt. These are quite a bit smaller than the originals. Plus minus come on, get in there. There we go. Let's push that down. Get this soldered in. Color Classic logic board, 2SI logic board, and PSU, and iMac G5 PSU. Now, never done an iMac G5, though I have done the others. Do keep in mind that the Color Classics do also have leaky power supplies, so you may end up having to do the analog board as well. I've done a video of removing the analog board, and I'm pretty sure I've done a video of recapping it as well, but I may not have. But there is certainly a recapping guide on my website on Recap a Mac. Obviously the 2SI logic board power supply, both very much need doing. Don't leave the 2SI too long. They have those power supplies on them in particular can have really big problems. So this one is also stuck on. So I'm just going to cut through this glue here. I can replace it afterwards. A lot of the time when people do recapping, they don't. I do sometimes and I don't other times, you know, in terms of replacing the glue. I don't use this hard stuff they use. I'm more likely to use an electrical scholastic, one that's designed to be used with electrical devices. I think the neutral curing or something like that. Okay, this little guy is going to come out. I said, have I? I think I've undone the wrong pin for this guy. I have. Dear. It's that pin there by the looks of it. Dear. So basically what I did is I desoldered the wrong thing. I desoldered a different component on the board for the other leg of this capacitor. So now I'm going to undo the right leg, the correct leg. Have I done it again? I've done it again! I'm spatially challenged today. You know what it is? It's because I don't have my glasses. I don't have my super magnify glasses on. I normally have those on when I'm doing this sort of stuff. So I'm just going to keep making excuses for myself. And come on, there we go. I do find it actually really challenging doing this without my magnifying glasses. I'm just going to resolder up these ones that weren't even meant to be desoldered in the first place. There's one. There's another. Because I don't want to forget. Okay, alright. Oh, look at all this chat. We're going crazy. Heading to bed. Catch you folks later. Good night, Dana. Wow, this is an early night for you. Okay. 1400 CS. Has issues booting up. Okay, there's any ideas? Oh, look, we've got other people helping with the diagnostic there. Have you ever come across an SE30 logic board that people are willing to sell? It's a very good question. No. Well, no. I mean, getting one in working... The problem is that most of the time with the SE30, the weak point is the logic board. So you're more likely to end up with the rest of the case than the logic board. The cases are fairly sturdy. They don't have the brittle plastic like some of the later ones do. So you're more likely to end up actually with the case being okay and then the logic board being fried. So for someone to actually take a logic board out of the case, it would only be a matter of if someone has one. I mean, I've never seen one for sale on its own. They might be out there, but I've never seen one. Okay, so this one here is a 470 microfarad 16, so I don't need to go up to the 16s. I've already got them here. 470 microfarad 16. Got little ones and big ones. This one might be better off with a big one. No, little one. No. 470 16. Yep, there it is. Okay, working our way through. I'm wondering, before I put this one in, I might take this one out behind it because it might make it more accessible. Having done one of these before, I know that the accessibility can be an issue. Off to bed, Bruce. Thank you, Steve. Get some proper sleep now, instead of staying up at all hours making awesome videos. Thank you very much for joining while you joined. I don't normally stream this late. I normally stream a lot earlier, and because I know that my US folks do tend to get a little bit on the tired side. I've been going for a while now. To start at the time I started, except this capacitor that I've got here, it's desoldered, but once again this one is also glued, so I'm just trying to break it away from the glue, and it doesn't make a very compelling viewing. I accept that. Yeah, come on. There we go. So let's just pull him out now. There we go. So this little guy is another 470 16. Look at the difference here. Just, I mean, you know, not surprising really, but here's an old 470 16 and here's new 470 16. Technology, eh? Yep, 470 16. 470 16. Okay, what have I got here? Okay, who else is going? People are dropping off. Okay, see you, Scarlett. Thanks for joining. I promise to start earlier next time so that people can hang on to the end. Okay, good. So, I need another one of these. $470 16. Oh, I can't see that. Man, I'm telling you what, I won't do this again without my glasses. Minus that way. Pliers. I used to have the most incredible vision. I used to be able to see things really, really, really well. And then, a while ago, I turned 40. And when that happened, within a couple of years, my eyesight went to crap. For anyone out there who is under 40, just something to look forward to. Right. This has been a real pain, this one. It's just not terribly accessible. I am glad I took that cap out from the front. Come on. So I realise this is a little bit dull, but it's just, I'm just having to hold it in a way that makes it very hard for me to actually show what I'm doing. And for that I apologise. So, right, I basically just put this little cap in here, into that little tiny gap there, and then I'm going to do this one as well. And again, I have to see where the plus is. The plus is on the bottom, so the minus on the top. This one's a little bit easier to get to, but only marginally. Okay. Power supplies are just dull, aren't they? Boy. Thanks for watching, people who are sticking around. As I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, this is something that just had to be done today anyway. I thought I may as well stream it. Why not? Well, actually, the reason why not is becoming fairly apparent now. But I do intend to finish this. We're very, very close at this stage. For not much more to do. And then we can fire him up and see him working. I do need to inspect some of these caps to see if any of them are leaking, because so far I haven't found any leaking at all. Even though these are the ones that are prone to leakage, doesn't mean that they automatically will. And to be honest, everything's looked pretty darn clean. Alright, that's that. And then I've got this little guy. There's 2 more caps to go, folks. Not much more. Once again, it's another one of these ones that's stuck on with glue. 1210 volts. 10. 1210. My glasses since age 5. Yes, I've lost track too. I'm in my 40s. I can tell you that much. Okay, minus that way, plus that way. So I obviously wear these glasses, and I've been wearing these for a while, but I've been wearing them for astigmatism, which the way it used to be, as I basically put my glasses on, I would just see crystal clear at any distance. I could look at things right up here, and I could look at things off in the distance, and everything was clear. And then when I got into my 40s, I lost my close-up vision. I started getting long-sighted, and I was not happy about it. Not at all. I went to the eye specialist, and I said, hey, I can't see anymore. She tested my eyes, and she said, it's normal for your age. She said, actually, it's not too bad for your age. And I said, not helping. I said, what can I do? Can I do some eye exercises? You know, can I, start exercising my eyes a bit more or something like that? She said, nope, nothing you can do. It's old age. Enjoy. And I said to this young person, great, thank you. She said, you'll need to get multifocals. Oh, awesome. Old person glasses. Now, I'm not quite sure, but this particular capacitor here is elevated. It's sitting on a little plastic thing to make it lift off the surface a little bit. Open to suggestions if anyone knows why. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it elevated. This one is another. This is 1210. What was that one? That was 1210 as well. So second 1210. And oh, now I don't know which way the minus and the plus were. Well, I can't see that. Fiddlesticks. Oops. See if we can see a little plus sign in here somewhere. Can I see a plus? Is that it there? There's a plus. Yep, cool. Okay. Just want to check that again. I just want to be sure. Plus. Because I just noticed that there's a cable here coming out. It says 5 volt. Maybe that's what's telling me the plus is. Going to just pry it up a little bit. Let's go have a look at our microscope. Yeah, pluses inside there. It's definitely the pluses on this side. All right, this is the last cap, everyone. So excitement plus. I'll tell you, edgiest seat type action going on here at the moment. It says you have a lovely speaking voice. Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you for saying so. Say thank you to your mother for commenting on my speaking voice. No issues. My vision is completely clear. Yeah, Matt, you're like half my age, less than half my age. No one wants to hear about how good your eyes are. Okay, how many caps are on that PSU? After the age of 10 years, it's downhill from the human eyes. That's when the cell packing begins. Well, I can say that I didn't notice any issues with my eyesight until I got into my 40s. So they may have been degrading fairly slowly from the age of 10, but when I hit my 40s, they went plummeted. And I was like, oh, it's so fast. Why? No. Right, so they're all the caps that are generally the problems on this particular power supply. So the hope is that, maybe there is an issue with one of them. But of course, if I grab each one of these and have a look at them under the microscope, like this, no leakage, no leakage, no, maybe a little bit. As I said, I can go in and I can test each of these and see whether it's, see whether there's a problem there. But I don't know. I'm really not feeling with this particular one like I'm doing anything of value. I just, for the life of me, I haven't been able to get it to do anything wrong. So I might have to just sort of have it connected up and leave it running for a while. This is just a bit of isopropyl alcohol I'm using to clear off some of the flux from soldering those guys in. Not super important, but I like to just have it a little bit cleaner. So we have replaced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 capacitors. I believe I've put all the right ones in, and I believe they're all in the right polarity. It's a little bit difficult for me to go in and double check that now because it's so hard to see. I have to just assume I did check it all correctly. All right, now, did anyone see where I put, here it is, the base of the power supply, right here. Just got to reconnect up the, excuse me, the wires. So we've got this one. There's that. It flicked off for a second when I had it turned on earlier. I will be looking out for that. So I'm just reconnecting up the wires here. Let's move it into camera there. So that's the ground wire here. Use my magnifying glass again. Then I need to make sure that I get these around the right way. Which one is live, which one is neutral. The next one up is neutral, and that is blue. Oh. Come on, come on, come on. Bit fiddly, isn't it? in there. There we go. Let's get that in there before it falls out. I'm so sorry. This is the view is not the best. It's just a little bit difficult for me at the moment to get everything sort of happening beautifully on the camera. It's so much harder with power supplies to kind of film these in a way that's kind of can be enjoyed by others. Logic boards are much easier because I can look at them under the microscope. But and then brown for live. Come on. Come on, cable, get in there. You're making me look bad. This is just so frustrating. Just going to check this hole to make sure it's all accessible. Looks alright. Give this a bit of a squeeze. 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 I'm coming at it at a slight angle because there's a component right next to this hole. Ah, far out. Oh, for far out's sake. Just going to get a little bit more wick on this and make sure all the solder is gone from around that hole. Oh, just got to reward these people that have been hanging on all this time just to see this finish. I've got to get this done. Had a few fizzes of late, you know. I had that LC475 that I recapped and then the sound didn't work. Man, I had the I did the there was another computer. I did the Quadra 700, which I never managed to get that to work. What else? I did SE30, which I think I had to do in 2 halves because of the I had to go in and do some UV solder mask on it, so I had to do that in 2 parts. So you know, I would like to be able to do one stream. Something bipping. I have no idea what was just bipping, but something was just bipping. Just make sure this hole's big enough, and then let's make this happen. Look at that! Look at that! That was what I needed to do right from the beginning. Is I needed to just shove those tweezers in there and just widen that hole just a tiny bit. Okay, so 1:10 AM, 1:15. Yeah, sorry. I'm speeding up. I'm giving you all permission to sleep in tomorrow. Right, so ironically, I didn't actually need to desolder those at all. There are little plugs here that I could have just disconnected. So sorry for wasting everyone's time on that one. Right, let's get this back in place. That looks fairly good. That's where that's meant to be. That's where that's meant to be. And then we just need to screw these back in. Bash my head on that. There's one. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Is that? Actually, I think it's this one. It's these longer screws. That one goes in this hole here. Crap. I use a magnet here. I have these little powerful little magnets. Find this kind of stuff entertaining anyway. Isn't that good to hear? Makes me feel a hell of a lot better. Okay, that one gets screwed in. So at least got one holding it in. And then we've got this one. So I have these little powerful magnets. These are out of the front of a MacBook. It's an iMac, a modern iMac, or modern-ish, 2007 or something like that, where the screens are held on with a magnet. And I have quite a few of those in varying condition, and I stole the magnets from some of them. Okay, let's get these cables out of the way so that I can get this screw in. Actually, that's not meant to be there. He's meant to be somewhere else. And once again, when I'm doing this sort of stuff, I have this very fine balance of doing things in a way where I can at least demonstrate something of what I'm doing, but be able to see it at the same time. And I'm really in that stage at the moment. I'm struggling between actually doing this in a way where I can see this screw and still provide something that you can actually watch. Hey, got it in. Oh man, that one made me work. I knew it was going to be hard to get in because it was so bloody hard to get out in the first place. Right, so power supply's back in there. I just need to get my little plasticky thingy thing. This is the little thing to hold all the wires together. So we'll just put those wires into this little hole here. That looks better, doesn't it? And then other way. Other way. That way. It gets all those wires together, keeps them all together, and then we just feed it into the case here with the assistance of some pliers. Just better check this. This is the board itself. So there's any chance of seeing that corroded board you were going to clean in the ultrasonic as a demonstration. A demonstration of what actually the cleaning, or just have a look at that board in general. Because I think he's still here floating around somewhere. I haven't. The main issue with the cleaning side of things is not even heating. Can't say that. Yeah, the main issue is it takes time and it's very, very, very noisy. So it's kind of a difficult thing. I can obviously start it and then demonstrate it later on. Oh man, this does not want to go in. This is so frustrating. If this doesn't work, I demand a refund. You'd be well within your rights to demand that, Jay. Little to no chance of getting it, but I would quite understand. This thing is trolling me. Come on, man. Imagine if I had to get it out again. Oh, God, I hate these things. Okay, I'm going to break out the big guns. What are we going to use? Try that one. Okay, probably a little bit. Get to see a little bit more of me than you should have then. But never mind. Whoopsie. This isn't really breaking out the big guns. This is more like breaking out the medium-sized guns, but it is doing the job. Okay. Right, we're in. Hooray. Far out. Wasn't that fun? Right, so. Any chance to think, okay, so where is the corroded board? I can't remember where I put it. I'll have to have a little hunt for it. It's around. generally put all the corroded boards up here. Something just fell. Oh, keyboard fell down. Yeah, here's the corroded board. So obviously I can stick that in the ultrasonic cleaner and then show what that looks like in another stream. Yeah, why did they make the plastic piece like that? To annoy Bruce. Okay, so let's put this on. This is actually a really cumbersome thing to pull apart. I've pulled apart quite a few power supplies. This one here, it's not a lot of fun. There we go. Why aren't you? Oh, I see. You're meant to be on top. Oh, far out. Gotta throw this thing. Staying calm. I've got this. So that's got to be under. So you get under. There we go. There we go. There we go. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Nearly. Oh my goodness. Please may I never have to open one of these again. That sucked. Alright. With any luck, I will be able to find all the screws that I pulled out of it. This one here, and then I need... They're all in here. So I think this one was from the... This one? I can hear my chicken outside. Good thing I didn't get you to do my SE30 PSU. Yeah, I mean, I have done other ones that weren't as difficult as this to open. This one's a particularly yucky one. Why does that feel like it's not going in there? Is it the wrong screw? It's always possible. Let's try a different screw. Okay. Now, I know, okay, it's probably one of these ones. Oops. So it feels better, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, so there are 4 that are the same that hold it onto the board. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's those. And then we've got a screw that holds this in like that. Yep. And then we've got another one that goes here. That's that and that. With that, looking around, just making sure I'm getting it all right. Let's try this one in this hole here. It's about the only one left over that that it can be, so I'm going to assume it's this one. Wait. Seems to be holding in place. Oh no, it's the wrong one. Oh dear. Thank you everyone for persevering. Today is the power supply from hell. this particular computer definitely has it in for me, don't you reckon? I mean, when you consider that so far it hasn't misbehaved. And apart from the speaker, of course, but you know. And now I'm getting all these screws mixed up. Such a fool. Right, let's think about it. So let's think carefully. Let's not do anything rash or silly. Maybe that's meant to be there. Yeah, it is. That is meant to go there, and that is where this screw comes in. With this. Oopsie. Whoa. Oh, far out. Oh, I'll tell you what, I will definitely rethink doing a live stream with one of these again. Nope. I'll just check. I mean, maybe this screw may not even be from this computer. It is possible. It is always possible that screw was on this table from something else. Now, what I might actually do, just while we've got this here, is connect up some power to it and make sure it doesn't go. I've got it all closed up now, so I'm reasonably safe. Obviously, if I plug this in and I blow a fuse, the stream will end. So, didn't blow a fuse, didn't cook or fry or anything like that, so that's nice. Then I think what we're looking at now, just move these around here, get these out of the way, and let's get the power supply board. Just check and make sure there aren't any more screws in here. No, no. I just can't remember where this went, whether it went up there or whether it went down here. I feel like it goes down here, but I don't actually have a screw that would hold that into position there, so that's what's confusing me. So easily confused. Let's get the analog board. Pop that there. And so he would live... Yeah, he definitely should be connected. Oh no, hang on. She is there. He's connected on that one, by the looks of it. Okay, well let's just put this back on. The fewer screws that I have floating around, the better. Yes, DD Electrical. David has the fun job. He has a very large Mac collection with the knowing that a lot of them are going to need to be recapped, as is the case with a lot of them. Now, obviously, some of the newer ones aren't quite there yet. They may need recapping in the future, but at the moment, they're still okay. But certainly, I would say to anyone that anything 68030 or older would need recapping. Okay, got that. So it was just a little ground cable here that I just need a screw for connecting him up. Is that? Nope, that's not it. There must be another screw floating around here somewhere because well, we'll figure it out when we get it, put it into the board, eh? Everything can come out in the wash. Whoa. Right. Okay, well, way too long, guys, way too long. Sorry about this. 2.5 hours has been going on. I thought 2 hour stream for this for sure, easily. Easily 2 hours, no longer than that. Not a second longer than that will this stream be. Okay, this is the bit where I do a bit of bending. Incidentally, with this, if you don't connect up this little green ground wire, which I've got floating around at the moment, you can end up with picture interference. Yeah, that just connected to that one, so that's all right. So that this little one here, that's where he's meant to be connected to. So where I had it connected the first time was the right spot. So I'm just assuming there was no screw in that in the first place, and I just didn't notice that. So yeah, it is important with this little green ground cable to connect it. If they move the PCU on, if they move the first, you put an expansion card in. So I'm wondering if they moved the PSU into its own cage for the SE because they were the first that you were meant to open up and put expansion into. It's a thought. I mean, I guess one of the main differences with the SE versus the ones that preceded it is it's a switching power supply that will automatically detect whether you're 110 or 240 volts and adapt. It is possible that there are still lots of dangers in here in terms of voltages, dangerous, fatal voltages. So I think Apple was still very much not wanting these to be opened up. I think this was just more of an advancement in terms of the power supply technology, having it as a separate unit rather than integrated into the board. It gave them another part, the potential failing part you could then go in and be replaced. Okay, just checking to make sure everything's in place. I'm going to now, obviously, I need to stick the white cover on, but I don't really need to do that for the purpose of testing. Let's take these off. Create my own little short there. There's some of the pins that I chopped off for the capacitors, new capacitors when I put them on, and ended up getting magnetized and stuck on here. So you don't want them floating around. So we then need to connect up the ground cable here. Oh, that's not the right size screw. Now this we had missing screws, so I've only got 2 here where I should have 4. I just need to find which one of these is the one that will work with the ground cable. I think it's this one. This one looks a bit different. Let's connect this one up. Alright. Doesn't want to go in either, so we'll try him over here. Alright, we're getting close now. Oh man, sometimes they just go in really easy, and sometimes they go in really hard, and you think, have I got the right screw in the right hole? Probably not, but got it in eventually. And this one, you're the last one. That's connecting up my ground to the power supply. Okay, so everything is in position. Well, actually, it's not even remotely. I've got to connect all the cables, which I'm doing now. Come on. Helps if you put it up the right way. It's nice that these plugs only go in one way, isn't it? Okay, there's one. Some of these ones that haven't been used, haven't been worked on much, the plugs are really stiff, and this is one of them. So they're really hard to sort of push in. On my one that's been pulled apart about 50 million times, that one, the plugs just go, they just slip right in and out, nice and easy. Okay. And then we have, this is the last plug I need to connect. Would be very interesting contacting the owner of this and saying, "Can you elaborate on the problems you are having?" Got to connect everything up here. I realise I'm not doing this on camera, and I'm sorry about that. But once again, it's that whole being able to see what I'm doing issue. Right, time for a logic board to go in. Just living over here. And probably not much point connecting up the speaker, seeing as we know that speaker is shot. And then I will just that way around, that way around, that way around. And just connect up the power cable. If I put this around the wrong way, I mean, it doesn't matter. It can go on either way, but it doesn't feel like it's just falling naturally into the position it should do. Which means that I've probably connected up this cable back to front. But that's okay. Oh, hooray. Far out. Not very cooperative, this guy. Something's getting in the way. Oh, it's just a power supply, that's alright. The power cable. Okay, so back on his feet. Connect up the SCSI cable for the hard drive that doesn't work. And connect up the floppy cable. We're nearly there, guys. Thank you for hanging on with me. Do appreciate it. This will not go down in history as one of my finest streams. Right, okay. So, I'm not going to connect the network cable up. I'm not going to be doing any networking at the moment. We've got the SCSI, we've got power, we've got everything connected here. Always make sure, in particular with the CRTs, that everything is connected up again. All your ground straps, your cathode, your anode cap, your, you know, so the little CRT board on the back. It's really important to make sure they're all plugged in. Okay, so let's now fire him up and just see what he does. Once again, we are not expecting a chime because we have a dead speaker and I didn't connect it up. So heard the floppy drive go boop. It is always a good sign. Got them a brightness. Oh, no, it was the hard drive. Yeah, okay. The hard drive spun up and then went down again. That freaked me out. But the hard drive is shot. We know that. Okay, so look, we're fine here. You know, maybe a few geometry issues here, and they just maybe stretch that screen out a little bit. I'm probably going to leave this running for a while, let it warm up, see if there are some issues that might surface once it's actually been warmed up. But to be quite frank, I have not been able to get this to do really anything wrong. The logic board is working, has been recapped. The analog board did work for me at the time. The only issue, you know, sort of I replaced the caps on the power supply, even though that was testing okay. So to be quite honest, I really haven't found what I would consider a fault with this. I've done more of a preventative maintenance more than anything else. So I'm going to get back to the owner and just ask him to elaborate on the issues he's having. But yeah, it's nowhere near as satisfying when you take something that's not broken in the first place and fix it. But okay, so let's have a look here. Will it work? Yes, it works. Doing some repairs on this total. Just bear with me a second. Yes. Okay, 2 hours and no explosion. Electrolyte field is satisfied. Yes, I know it is frustrating. All right, guys. Well, look, I am going to wrap it up now because at the end of the day, I've pretty much done all I can to this SE30. So I'll see if I can find out a little bit more. See if there is sort of some other issue. As I say, I'm going to leave it running. But thank you all for watching. Thanks for persevering, for particularly the people in the States where now it is ridiculously late. Thank you for joining. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. And I will see you at the next one. Bye.